Few electric cars have caused as much excitement as this, the IONIQ 5. It's the first car from Hyundai's spun-off all-electric IONIQ brand. So whereas previous Hyundais also had fossil fuel variants, this car doesn't. Some reviewers are saying this car is a true Tesla challenger, but people on YouTube like me are always saying things like that. So let's find out, does this car actually have something to give Elon Musk something to worry about? But before we get into the details, please don't forget, if you like this video, like, comment and subscribe. If you want to be cruel, you could compare the exterior of the IONIQ 5 to an Austrian Maestro, but seeing it in the flesh is a different matter. Photos don't really do the futuristic looks justice. It's also much bigger than you think it is. This is another car resolutely in the crossover class. Although it's 14 centimeters shorter than Tesla Model Y, it's actually 4 centimeters wider and 5mm taller. The dimensions are around the same as an Audi Q4 e-tron, although there's something about the IONIQ 5 styling that makes you think it's smaller. This is a very bold look that will definitely divide opinion. The recessed LED front lights provide a mean and serious appearance. I have to admit, it's grown on me. There are 3 drivetrain options, although not every single one is available with every trim option. The basic one is a 58 kilowatt-hour battery with a 2-wheel drive at the rear. Then you also get a 72.6 kilowatt-hour battery, and you can have that with 2-wheel drive or 4-wheel drive, which is what we have here. Hyundai has kept the same trim names as its other cars, including SE Connect, which is only available with the 58 kilowatt-hour battery, as well as Premium and Ultimate. There's over £11,000 separating the basic model from the top-end one. As with most Korean cars though, the spec is very generous, even at the entry level. The SE Connect still comes with a twin 12.3-inch display, as we will show you shortly, 19-inch alloy wheels, plenty of safety features, rear parking sensors plus camera, and adaptive cruise control. Premium adds more safety features, electric driver seat adjustment, heated front seats, front parking sensors, and the electric tailgate. The Ultimate we have here adds 20-inch wheels for the 70.6 kilowatt-hour versions, Bose premium audio, electric adjustments for the passenger seat, heated rear seats, a head-up display, ventilated front seats, and the vehicle-to-load ability we will be explaining later. The basic colour is olive green, but there are 8 other options ranging in price from £300 to £685, with the latter being matte finish. They're all quite sober and dark, apart from the £300 solid white we have here. Entry into the car is keyless, and as you can see, as I approach, the wing mirror is open, but the car isn't yet unlocked. You have to press this button on the door, and then, oh look, the handles present themselves to you, a bit like a Tesla Model S or Model X. Then you press pull and open. Let's have a look inside. If you were expecting a familiar Hyundai interior for the IONIQ 5, think again. There are a few elements you might recognise if you've owned a Hyundai before, but otherwise this is an incredibly high-tech design inside. It feels spacious and unfussy, but not as minimalist as a Tesla Model 3 or Y. These twin 12.3-inch displays dominate the dashboard, but there are some discrete buttons as well. These seats are quite firm, and the bolsters on either side are quite high, but if you like that kind of thing, if you like sports seats, they hold you in place when you're going around corners. There's a decent amount of headroom, maybe not as much as we've seen in some other cars, but certainly adequate. From premium trim upwards, the driver's seat is electrically adjusted. The seats also have this party trick where you can recline them all the way back, so you can have a quick nap if you like, although I wouldn't recommend doing this while you're driving. If you do decide to go for a nap, you can also pull up this lovely little rest for your feet as well, so comfy. The front seats are heated from premium upwards, and the Ultimate adds electric adjustment for the passenger as well as ventilation on both seats. You can activate the front heated seats using the menu. There is a USB Type A port and car charging plug at the front with a small cubby. Further back, in the centre console, is another pair of USB Type A ports and a wireless phone charging space. This second space looks like it could be a wireless charging for a smaller second phone, but it's more for loose change or loose sweets. This one appeared to come with the car. There's loads of space under here behind the wireless charging point, and underneath here you've got a small space for extra stuff. This is really well thought out. You can of course move the armrest up, but the party trick here is that this whole central console moves backwards if you want to give people in the front more space, and forwards if you want to give the people in the back more space. Now this is a feature only available with the Ultimate version of the trim. Another well thought out feature is the glove compartment. Now most cars these days seem to have quite small glove compartments, but you can see this one is really quite large, enough for your whole family to put their gloves in. These rear seats are pretty comfy as well, and as you can see there's quite a decent amount of space lots of knee room, a decent if not exceptional amount of headroom as well. Another somewhat unusual feature is the ability to actually move the whole seat forward. Now this is probably not so great for rear passengers, it's more for the ability to add a little bit more space to the boot, which we'll talk about shortly. In this ultimate trim level, the rear seats are also heated. One thing that does surprise us though is that there's no panoramic sunroof, and that doesn't even appear to be an option either. The middle rear seat is reasonably comfortable, and the fact that you can move the console forward means that you can have a bit more leg room than in some cars. If you don't have a middle occupant, you can pull this forward to make an armrest with a couple of cup holders. Rear passengers are well catered for, with a pair of USB Type A ports in the central console. The two outer passengers have their own air conditioning vents in the door B pillars. The headline act for rear passengers, which only comes with the Ultimate Edition, is this 13 amp plug socket for the vehicle to load system. You can plug your laptop in here and keep working, very handy. The front seats have pockets for your kids to put their copies of Tower of God or whatever it is kids read these days. The two outer rear seats have ISOFIX points. The front passenger seat are also supposed to have ISOFIX points, but didn't seem to be any evidence in our model. If the interior space is pretty generous, the boot space is very generous indeed, up there with a mid-sized estate car. Now there is supposed to be some kind of automatic opening system which occasionally works. It's not kick release though, it's a little bit odd. However, from the premium level upwards, you get this electronic boot release at least. If you remove this partial shelf, this is now 527 litres, which is pretty sizable, much more than an average hatchback. There's a little bit of extra space under here, and you've got things like the tyre inflator kit. This is a granny charger, and there's this thing as well, which we'll be talking about later, a mysterious little box. So once you remove this blind, you'll notice that actually it's not that easy to get these rear seats down. You actually have to go round the other side and do that from the rear seat passenger space. So you have to use this release actually on the side of the seat here to drop the seats forward. You get this typical 40-60 arrangement. Now that we've dropped the rear seats down, you'll see that this space that's been made available is very flat. This is a massive 1,587 litres. Now both with the seats up and with them down, that's actually more space than Audi Q4 e-tron, and about the same as a VW ID4, so really quite a lot of boot space. But of course what both those cars lack is a front. Now on this all-wheel drive version, this space here is a bit small, probably just enough for some cables, but if you get one of the rear-wheel drive only cars, this space is a lot more because it doesn't have a front motor. This car can also tow up to 1,600 kilograms, which is pretty good. Overall, this is a capacious cargo carrier. Before the IONIQ 5 arrived, the Hyundai Kona Electric held the record for the longest range car that still got the government UK plug-in grant. Unfortunately, despite having versions with a bigger battery, the IONIQ 5 doesn't do any better. The versions with the 58 kilowatt-hour battery have a range of 238 miles, and the two-wheel drive ones with the 72.6 kilowatt-hour battery have a range of 298 miles. This all-wheel drive version has only 267 miles, which is a bit of a disappointment for a car that is so spot on in most other areas. That includes charging. The onboard AC goes up to 10.5 kilowatts, so you can take advantage of three-phase power and fully charge the 72.6 kilowatt-hour car from empty in under 8 hours. The 58 kilowatt-hour car takes a little over 6 hours. With a more modest 7 kilowatt AC supply, these figures rise to 11.5 and over 9 hours. DC charging is where this car's 800 volt platform shows its true prowess. A year subscription to IONIQ charging is included, and if you can find a functioning 350 kilowatt unit, this car can go from 10 to 80% in just 18 minutes. On paper, that's faster than a Tesla Model 3. This unfortunately isn't the most economical EV on the market. The 58 kilowatt hour battery will deliver around 4.1 miles per kilowatt hour, but the all-wheel drive that only drops to 3.7 kilowatt hours. So on a 14p per kilowatt hour supply, that makes 3.8p per mile, which is quite expensive. Now we come to the IONIQ 5's true party trick, which is this rather obscure looking device. You can see on one end, there is a Type 2 plug, but on this end, if you open this up, you get a 13 amp plug. Now you can open up the port here, plug this straight in, and then you can plug in any 13 amp device into this plug here, and it will power it. And this goes all the way up to 3,600 watts, 3.6 kilowatts, I was able to use this with a granny charger on another EV and actually charge that car from this one. Or you could use it for potentially a bouncy castle, you could use it for a microwave, you could use it for an inflator for your camp beds when you're out camping. It's a truly useful feature. One thing I would say though, this is obviously designed for a European style plug, because if you get a plug with a stiff attachment on the end, you can't actually close this rain protector. The functional but unexciting control system of other electric Hyundais has been totally replaced. There's still a discrete button to turn the system on. But drive controls are operated by this steering wheel stick. If you use the Teslas or Mercedes, this doesn't operate in the same way. You rotate up for drive and down for reverse, and you press in for park. There's a separate button for turning on auto hold, and this is actually an electric parking brake where you can safely ignore that most of the time. There's a conventional stalk on the right for the windscreen wipers. This one on the left is for lights and indicators, and you'll also notice in front of it there are paddles for the regenerative braking. There's a button on the actual steering wheel for changing drive mode power between Eco, Normal and Sport. On the left hand side of the steering wheel, these buttons are for media control, voice activation, and on the right here are some buttons for the adaptive cruise control. There's a full set of discrete buttons for the climate control, which is dual zoned on all trim levels and easy to operate while driving. I have to say, I love the way Hyundai has designed the 12.3-inch display used for the dashboard. It's both aesthetic and has plenty of information. The left has the current speed and the right has your remaining range. Coolest of all is the way the drive power or regen is shown on the right with subtle safety warnings. I really love the way this circular window showing a blind spot view appears when you indicate left or right. With the Ultimate trim you get this brilliant HUD which is projected right onto the windscreen and includes speed, speed limit, navigation information and very clear safety warnings. Of course there's another 12.3-inch screen in the middle for navigation and media. The sat-nav is standard with 3 years of live service subscription across all trims. This is a touchscreen, but there are discrete buttons for going through all the different functions as well, so you can get to them quickly. For example, this one takes you to media and you can choose between the DAB and FM radio. Let's turn that off again. You get support for Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, other only works through a cable. This favourite button lets you get to various different things. At the moment it's just set for the car regen. If you go to nav, you can see you can enter addresses via keyword, POI, previous destination, has access to your address book, and there are live functions. You get 3 years of that included as standard. Now if you get through to, if you go to the home screen, you can actually go in and look at loads of different functions here. Look at this cool graphic of, I'm not even sure what that is, it's something to do with the electric vehicle, but it looks cool. Climate control, more fine control of the climate control that beyond the buttons at the bottom. If you go into settings here, you can see this section here, which is the vehicle settings. It's a little bit more sluggish than we'd like. You can adjust various different, this is a little bit more familiar for other Hyundai vehicles. Adjust the head-up display here, and how the cluster is shown. Lots and lots of cool functions, not that hard to get to. We've got the most powerful all-wheel drive version of the IONIQ 5 here, which has a potent 305 PS. That's enough to propel this car to 62 miles per hour in 5.2 seconds, which is not far off the Tesla Model Y long range. The larger battery rear-wheel drive version has a still decent 217 PS and takes 7.4 seconds to hit 62 miles per hour, which is around the same as an ID3 Pro Performance. The rear-wheel drive cars with a smaller battery have 170 PS, which means it takes 8.4 seconds to hit 62 miles per hour, which is about the same as a VW Group SUV. We haven't tried the rear-wheel drive versions of this car yet, but this all-wheel drive version is an absolute hoot. Despite its bulk, this car is very easy and enjoyable to throw around on the road. The suspension is also quite forgiving on rougher surfaces. The IONIQ 5 sits very comfortably at motorway speeds and inspires confidence. The Hyundai Kona Electric isn't a bad steer, but the IONIQ 5 takes things to a much higher level. This is actually fun to drive. All of the Korean cars we've tested score high on safety features, and the IONIQ 5 carries on that tradition. All cars have Hyundai's Highway Driving Assist, starting at level 1 for the SE Connect trim. This is an adaptive cruise control system that also includes stop and go for stationary traffic. There's also intelligent speed limit and lane keep assist. The premium trim adds blind spot and forward collision assist. With the premium trim and above, the adaptive cruise control also adds some steering assist to make it level 2. Now you can actually only use that when you're on a highway that the GPS has spotted allows you to use it. You need to specifically enable this by pressing this button on the steering wheel. There are lots of nice safety touches with this car, like that view that pops up on the dashboard display when you indicate. The way the blind spot detection warns you is excellent, particularly with the HUD that we have here. This car is packed with useful safety tech. Throughout this review, you will have got the impression that this is a premium car, a cut above any other vehicle we've reviewed from Hyundai before. Unfortunately, that also comes with a premium price. Even the entry-level 58 kWh SE Connect starts at £537,000. The premium starts at a little over £39,000, and the ultimate starts at over £42,000. Then you have the motors on the top, and the more powerful rear-wheel drive motor adds $26.50 to the price, and the all-wheel drive adds $58.50 to the price. That means this all-singing, all-dancing all-wheel drive Ultimate Edition is a little over £48,000, putting it in the same price bracket as a Tesla Model 3 long range. The Tesla is faster and has 100 miles more range, but it also has a much smaller boot. Hyundai's guarantee is a little better though, lasting 5 years for unlimited mileage and with a 12-year perforation warranty. The battery is guaranteed for 8 years and 100,000 miles, but no word on percentage. Insurance groups range from 35 for the Connect SE to 44 for the Ultimate all-wheel drive that we have here. So the IONIQ 5 will be cheaper than the Tesla to insure. So should you buy the IONIQ 5 instead of a Tesla? It's not quite a fair comparison. The IONIQ 5 can't match the Tesla Model 3 for range, and the Tesla Model Y is much more expensive. One thing's for certain though, the IONIQ 5 really puts Hyundai on the map as a top-flight electric vehicle manufacturer. There's nothing second-rate about it at all. The quality, performance and features are right up there with the best from Europe and America. Let's look at that parking camera. It has a really good 360 view with sensors front and back, one of the best around. You'll see it shows the rear, but if I then actually go into the front, look at that. We're actually seeing the car as it sits on the parking space, and you can see I've not done a very good job of parking. Isn't that cool? In the past, you'd buy a Hyundai because it was great value, but with the IONIQ 5, you buy it because it's just great. This is a truly superb EV from the Korean brand. It's great to drive, has lots of space for passengers and cargo, and has loads of advanced technological features. Maybe this isn't quite a Tesla killer, but it is one of the best non-Tesla EVs on the market. Please don't forget, if you like this video, like, comment and subscribe.